pick up where I've lost back. Welcome to everybody. We had lots of fun with Mark showing us toys in Zoom. I'm going to pick up where I think we left off is in terms of the unique opportunity of the regional SDF. And in this case, what was interesting is that Salgas organized what they called the Small Town Regeneration Conference of the Karoo. And these were done annually. And at one of these conferences 2 years back, that we proposed that a regional SDF then be drafted for the space with the idea to then provide some policy and bring all of government and the private industry together. 37 municipalities and the 4 premiers then committed to this. We've got us in the writing. And this then allows us to proclaim the region, which we've done last week. What is important is all of this is done in terms of the Spatial Planning and Land Use Management Act of SPLUMA. And what Section 12 specifically says is all of national, provincial, and local government must contribute when a spatial development framework is drafted. And I think what's significant is that brings us all together and how we take any space forward. When development applications is lodged at the municipality, there's a determination to say, is this a matter of provincial interest, let's say a provincial hospital or a university, matters of national interest, that might be a nuclear power plant or anything like that. And when any of these things is done, they have to be lodged at the municipality. And then depending on what scale it is, on what significant it is, the rest must be involved. The reason behind this is that the people in the local space is most affected by development. And the intent of the Constitution was to make sure that the people being affected by the things happening must be involved. And that's where this comes from. Obviously, on all applications, you can partake. Then we have to set up some governance structure, and I'll say a little bit more about that. Then on the 19th of October, we've proclaimed this region. It's the first of its kind in South Africa. And we busy drafting this thing. And I must say, a lot of the work that we're currently doing is hopefully groundbreaking in what will follow. And we know there's 1 or 2 new regions that also wants to follow the same route. Just to talk a little bit on SDFs, the definition of an SDF is where in space over time do we want to spend our money? And I think that's important because we all seen things in the past where establishment was done, houses were built, and then there's no water, or the ablution facilities was put up, and then somebody realized, no, but the treatment works can't deal with it, and so forth. So the idea is that SPLUMA, when SPLUMA came into effect, is that there's one piece of planning legislation for the whole country, and with the aim of bringing everybody together. In the example here, if I click, there's a municipality, there's another one where Welkom is, Bothaville, and Northwest. With some misalignments between the different plans at that point in time. And what I want to try and illustrate here is you cannot plan in isolation. There's always somebody around you. You have to take them into account, and that plans need to be so that everybody's involved. And I think it's vital that the way we see spatial planning after 2015, when the new Spatial Planning and Land Use Management Act came into effect, is that it becomes a process that involves everybody, but it also forces the municipality to look next door. You can't draft your own SDF if you don't see what happened next door. That's in terms of horizontal alignment, but also in vertical alignment. There's a requirement for municipalities to look at what provincial government and what national government is doing within the same space. And then the regions, which is new to us, but the idea is that some homogeneous elements will bind them together, and I'll get to that. This, for people from Europe, for instance, is where the European Union uses something like territories. ESPON documents. I forgot the long name now, but it's the same principle that applies, and we're trying to bring through. Then just on our spatial development frameworks, our Constitution of 1996 says a municipality is a wall-to-wall entity. That means all of the farming area, all of the towns within its boundaries falls within that jurisdiction, and the municipality then has to, by law, fulfill its responsibility in terms of land use management and spatial planning. What we've got on here is just one of the municipalities and the spatial planning that's done for the rural space, let's say. And in this case, the dark green areas is our core areas next to the Bloemhof Dam and the Sunfed water irrigation scheme. And the idea is that that will be protected. So anybody wanting to do a development within that green areas would probably get a no from somebody, because we have to protect that water sources, as we've been seeing that hasn't always been the case. And then this policy things will be defined within policy. So each municipality does define it differently. In this case, the orange is, for instance, the intensive agriculture, but there's 3 different sort of intensive agriculture regions defined within this, and each one would have different rules. And the idea is that I know the National Department has released high potential agriculture map now that's defined high potential agriculture land for the whole of South Africa. And that would then also be incorporated into the local SDFs to say, how do we protect those areas that we regard as high potential? Not saying something cannot happen there, but obviously then just be aware that food security is at play. Just a little small town, and the SDF in the town, in this case is the yellow is future residential areas, orange is the CBD and the corridors that links the town, and the green is where we want to protect. And then, but there's a lot of things. I don't want to go too much detail in this sense, but just to give you an idea, that's how it works on a local scale. But obviously, okay. And then the Spatial Planning and Land Use Management Act has got 2 components to it. And what happens is, the one is, where do we go with our money over space, in space over time? And the other one is where we regulate the space. This is the land use scheme. Now, land use scheme is being drafted for the entire space as well. So agricultural land is also now classified, and what you're allowed to do on it and what not. And each municipality is busy with its own process. So these schemes does not look the same, but they follow the same principles at least. Examples, for instance, is if you get a mining license or you get a liquor license, you cannot do business the next day. After you get your license, you must make sure that your land use, your zoning for that is correct. And the reasons I think behind that is just makes sense, because if you wake up one morning in your nice house that's 4 stories high and the Porsche is in the driveway, and your next door neighbor opens a shebeen, that might not make you happy. And that's where land use comes in. It protects, and it tries to make sure that the activities that's happening in space actually makes sense where it happens. Noxious industries are far out of town, they're not in town, and things like that. And you have to apply to change your land use. We've got an example here that I saw picked from one of the schemes that we've done. And in this case, you've got permitted uses, agricultural purposes, industries, and so forth under tourism. And then special consent, that means you have to just ask for it, but you can get it. It's in line. Renewable energy is here, for instance, in this case, under tourism. So if something is zoned as tourism, renewable energy is something that you can get consent for. In terms of agriculture, I think there is renewable energy again. So what we've said within this municipal space is, if you want to do a renewable energy project, it's under the list of permitted uses under special consent, and you just have to apply for it. And there's a process that goes by, but let me not go too much into that. Okay, now that brings us to the Karoo. And I think in this case, we've drafted the yellow line in two ways. The first is we use the biomes from environmental affairs to say, where do we have the Karoo biome? Interesting fact is that the biomes stop on the Orange River between Free State Province, Eastern Cape and Northern Cape. And then it's called Karoid something. And we've had all the specialists in, and which they agreed that the portion within the Free State is a transitional zone, but it does contain the Karoo space as well to a certain or lesser extent. And then we decided, okay, this is then the total boundary for the space. But when we plan, obviously you can never plan in isolation. So you take in cognizance what's happening, or what opportunities Cape Town, PE, East London, and those ones offer to the space. So it will not ignore those spaces on the outside, but the focus of the areas where we want to assign policy to, or where we want to add initiatives, will obviously fall within the yellow boundary. This map, you'll see it's spatial planning category F, so there's a few that I've left out. But I think in terms of what we want to achieve within this spaces, this is how we looked at renewable energy. The applications you see on the screen is actually the active applications that the CSIR did for us, so we can see what is happening at the moment, with the green in the middle being the square kilometer array, which also brings some innovation to the space, and I think it gives special significance. So this is the current active applications, and some of them are approved already. That's going on. Then this, just to put the Karoo into context, this is the National Spatial Development Framework. In other words, this is where national government says, this is our focus areas, this is the regions. Now, there was a lot of stories, but the area here, I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get the laser thing up. This area is the arid innovation area. So in this area, we know that it's very dry. If you go to South Africa, that's Karoo mainly, and a little bit of the Kalahari here at the top, which this portion is desert, and this one, it's not desert, but it's very harsh space. But it does provide for unique opportunities. I'll show you one or two pictures. Currently, it's flowering season there, and half of South Africa would want to go see. Let me just, sorry, I must use that buttons. Okay, in terms of the development of the SDF, I think we're in phase 3. And I would invite anybody that wants to be part of it. You're welcome. All of our meetings currently is in any case done on MS Teams. You register, we invite you, and you're part of it. We do have colloquiums where we get professors from different spaces to come and present. And we've got a nice, robust discussion on how do we take this very dry space, but with some uniqueness forward. There's 5 things that we focus on. Obviously, we want to have a unique vision for that space. And I think one of it's an innovative space. And we see that linked, and especially with the theme of the conference in terms of wind or renewable energy, I think it's important that this space does lend it very well to those type of things. And we would like to see that included there. Then obviously we want to transform the space. Certain towns we want to add things, certain towns we cannot. In terms of town planning rules, I've said it before, you can build a provincial hospital which requires specialists in one of the smallest towns in South Africa. The unfortunate reality is specialists would probably not go there because specialists is married, they've got kids, they want to put them in good schools. So there's a certain hierarchy in terms of planning. And it doesn't matter what government does, that hierarchy will be followed. People will behave the way people want to. They want to feel safe. They want access to amenities. And the smaller you go, the less interest people are. Then the space is obviously, the heritage of it is very unique within South Africa, and obviously the conservation space as well. There's large spaces that that needs to be protected, growth and innovation, and then collaboration. I think there's a huge section where we're bringing a group together, and the idea is to establish a governance structure from the people within the space itself and private people. Say, let's manage whatever we get together and go forward. There's a little bit of the hierarchy. This is not final, but just to give you a sense of how we see the urban cores. That's the bigger towns, your more metro, Cape Town, Bishu, PEE, and those ones. And then you've got regional anchors, the R, Beaufort, Braddock, Graafrenet, Calvinia, Springbok. And then you've got your rural service towns and then other towns. And I think what is vital is we're not saying if you lower down on the order, you are in trouble. Or when we did the national SDF, we heard stories that people say these small towns are going to be left out and they're only going to give services to the big ones, and that's not true. There's a hierarchy in terms of what amenities fit into what spaces, and that's international science in terms of town and regional planning. So it's not something new. We're just trying to make sure that we understand the space and see what the interlinkages is between these towns. Then there's just the structure as it is at the moment. We've got a national government that's busy with the national SDF and those regions that I quickly referred to. SALGA is involved, and then we've got a national spatial planning land use management forum that we do once a quarter. That's open events to anybody. So if you're in the development space and you want to be part of it, please feel free and come join us. We do have same spaces within the provincial spaces where we also do spatial planning forums and GIS forums. And then we've got some development agencies that form part, and MINMEC and MuniMEC where we drive the political. Just maybe short, currently the district development model as driven by the presidency is a big thing in South Africa. And the president, when launching this, said the idea is this does not replace the legislative plans and initiatives like IDPs and so forth. So just so everybody knows that what we're doing here falls within that, and we will hand this into the DDMs that the presidency is driving, and that will be supported and actually how we will get some of these things done and funded. I don't want to focus too much on the governance structures. I think things we're trying to say is we want low entry and exit costs. That's one of the things we want to do. What that more or less translates to is if you want to be part of this, you should be able to become part of this without a big thing. We want the economy is so small. I had a meeting last week with some of the farmers, and one of the ladies said, if you can't put jam bottles that's glass, there's no courier in South Africa that will actually transport those things for you. So what does that say in terms of enabling small business people within small towns? How do they get the things that's so unique that we love of the rural space to where we can buy them in cities where the money is, and how do we get an inflow of revenue? And that's simple things, but we should solve that somehow. Otherwise, we cannot unlock that economic space. Okay, a little bit of law, matters of regional interest. This is not defined. We're busy defining it within this project. And what that means is once we've finished with this first attempt at a definition, when a development application is assessed for anybody that wants to do anything from building a guardhouse right through building a mall, this will be taken into consideration to say, does this influence matters of regional interest, and in this case, matters of Karoo regional interest. And one of the sort of outcomes of the project would be then to say, what is matters of Karoo regional interest? And in other words, at what point does this bigger space get involved when we consider any development and where we go? Let me go forward. There's a bit of land use here. I try to just put it in here so you can see that land use planning under Schedule 4B of the Constitution is assigned to municipalities. It's a municipal competency. If you pick a fight with a municipality, the courts will not overturn it. They will ask the municipality to reassess it. And it's important that we understand that certain things, as assigned by the Constitution, vests within the municipalities, and especially in terms of land use and amendment of land use. That's why I think at the moment the whole country is drafting land use schemes. Please get involved if you want to influence that process. Then in terms of the region, I think the idea is that we say when decisions is made in terms of land use, when we drafted the Spatial Development Framework, that areas that we delineate and describe becomes the policy for that space, which the provincial, national, and local governments subscribe to. And then if anybody probably then makes a decision contrary to that, that affects matters of regional interest, that this SDF would have to be amended first. And that's where we will see how it goes in future. Probably will take a court case or two. Why declare a region? I think in the Karoo, I think there's a few important things that's busy happening there that we want to make something out of it. Karoo Lamb is one of the initiatives, and what is nice, I saw that comments for the Karoo Lamb region as defined by the agriculture arm of our department is out now. They're going to proclaim it. That Karoo region, the intent is to do exactly the same as Bordeaux or Champagne in France or any one of the other international similar initiatives. And we're trying to then put the Karoo down and say, and register it such that only us in the world can then advertise and market under that brand. That's something that we definitely want to do. We've got big venison initiatives within that space. Our animals or venison or animals that lends it to venison is especially adapted to the Karoo space. It's not as sheep and cattle. It's easier to get them there, and we're trying to see if we can get that off the ground. Obviously, there's huge tourism potential. I think the flowers in Namaqualand is one of the things that we internationally renowned for, and numerous other spaces. SKA, the observatory, I should have added Sutherland, where you can actually come to if you want to look at space. I think it's one of the unique experiences which is easy and close to bigger centra, with a bit of driving maybe. Then ultimately brand the Karoo and say this is this monster, and we want to see if that can add value to the space. Uniqueness of the space, all of the photos I haven't said is from the space itself, just to show you one or two pictures maybe of how unique it is. Ugrabis is where probably one of the biggest, gorgeous, our version of the big one from America, which is nice to visit. There's a nature conservation area next to it. Then the specific is Pella, that's on the border with Southwest, or Namibia, sorry. And almost gave away my age now. And this is on Sepkans. And why I put this picture on is to make a specific point is, this space is the furthest west on the borders of the Orange River where you can cultivate grapes. And they are ripe 2 weeks before any other grapes within the world. So one of the initiatives that the Northern Cape government did is to allow the farmers to export this grapes directly from Uppington. So from they cut, within a day, they're on the aeroplane to Europe, and that gives us, with the current exchange rate, a lot of money. And that has made that many of these farmers that go for the export market, that it made a huge difference to them. But if you look at the space there, it's not something that I would put on my holiday plan, but we can find that competitive advantage in a space that's in the middle of nowhere. And I think that's some of the policy initiatives we're trying to do. How do we unlock that space that it makes sense, and that we hopefully got right in that case. There's just one or two pictures of the people within the space. I must say, I'm from that space. I love to go there, but slide before last is we've got a Karoo conference every year. It is open, so this one we're still waiting for the dates. It's going to be towards the end of the year, and it would be open, so you're welcome to attend to see where do we go with this project. And just to show you the project schedule for those interested, please come. We're in this third one at the moment. As you see, you've not missed anything. Status quo, stakeholder, that we in the gist of where things are happening. And Prof. Mark Oranje from the University of Pretoria is one of the team leads, and I think we all know him as one of the champions in the country, so we should get a good product there. Yeah, there's my details. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fanny, for presentation, and I would like to apologize to all our audience for the technical glitch. Then we went over time, but we'll try to make sure that we finish before 12:30. I think because of time, Fanny, I'll only ask one question, what of which I'm sure our visual audience are asking themselves: what are the implications of this SDF on future sort of development, especially looking at the wind farms?
I think that this is the future. This gives us the 30-year plan for that space. And when we implement, or when we demarcate projects or initiatives within this space, this is where we want to go. The national SDF is a 2050-year plan. And contrary to other plans that's being made where a plan can change at any time, all subsequent development is approved in terms of a spatial development framework. So this has got a direct influence on anything that's being approved within this space. And I think that's why I can at least say we're definitely taking into account all renewable energy within that space, and we're definitely going to include it because it makes sense within this space. And I think it's vital that we get it in there. So we're definitely supporting it, and we'll try and write it in as best we can. And that will then support any applications that goes in. And the commitment from the municipalities is once we're done, this will then devolve downwards into the local SDFs, and you should, hopefully, we can get a lot of red tape cut in terms of your applications going forward.
Yeah, I think, Fanny, last one, your sister department, which is the Department of Environment, Forest and Fisheries, have gazetted and developed the what you call the renewable energy development zones. Are there plans to incorporate those identified areas in your SDF?
Yes, if you look at NEMA says that whatever they do in terms of the Biodiversity Act, that must find expression within the SDFs. The SDF becomes the sort of central policy mechanism where all 15 sector departments that has got legislation that affects land has to find expression within that space. So yes, definitely, that's one of the aims. And that needs to go down to the municipalities as well. So we're definitely looking at that, yes. I think that if I made the CSIR, I forgot what the abbreviation stands for, but in any case, they're the Central Research Council for South Africa, and they did a lot of the work on wind energy and solar energy, and they actually part of the team drafting this for us. So the wind maps, where optimal wind is and where optimal solar conditions is, all of that, the people that actually drafted that for your space is on this team. And we're definitely just going to take all of that and put it in.
Thank you, Fanny. That gives us more confidence that CSR and the members who drafted the REDs, they're part of the committee. Thank you very much, Fanny. Wasting more time, Chris, we are only left with 5 minutes, and we'll try to make sure that we wrap up within the 5 minutes. I mean, Chris, You have been involved in the development of Amakala MON farm from planning, construction, and the operation phase. Would you mind to share with the audience what has been your experience as a landowner?
Thank you, Takalani. I will. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I've been asked to share my experiences and perspectives in the development and construction of the wind farm on which I live, the Amakala Emoyeni wind farm. I have started from the very beginning, so as to give a lay person an idea of the length of development, as well as all the processes involved. We were approached in 2009 by a representative from WindLab Developments regarding the setting up of a tall met mast with the intention of exploring the possibility of a wind farm in our area. This sparked in the professionalism of regarding they be expected during the and this after lengthy with a to house the wind farm. By now, extensive specialist studies were being undertaken to ensure that no fatal flaw would present itself, which would have scuppered the project. Our interaction with the various professionals, be they bird, bat, geological, botanical, visual impact, audio impact, and many others, impressed upon us the thorough nature of the assessment being undertaken. These studies gave us comfort as farmers that all aspects of the wind farm's impact on the environment were being considered. After the environmental impact assessment was approved, the project was bid into the second window of the IPP program. The bid was successful and the race to financial close and construction began. By now, we were aware of the extent to which we'd be impacted during the construction phase. We were given extensive feedback by Synergy regarding just how many trucks, excavators, heavy machinery, and people would be involved. It was literally hundreds of trucks doing tens of thousands of trips in order to prepare the roads, excavate and cast bases, as well as complete the electricity reticulation. All of this before the erection of the massive Nordex turbines. There were going to be 200 to 300 people on site at any one time, all moving in different directions, all on a peaceful Karoo sheep farm. Now we were scared. However, the team at Synergy did an amazing job allaying the fears of the different farmers, ensuring that we had a direct channel of communication to the Synergy project manager with any of our problems and concerns. This rather flat structure made us realize that our issues would receive the requisite attention. And I can't emphasize this enough. A direct channel to someone who can and is actually prepared to take action has been the hallmark of Amakala Emoyeni's development. We've watched neighboring wind farms, of which there are plenty in Bedford, being developed and constructed without a cordial relationship between farmer and wind farm operator. This has led to extreme frustration and in some cases even legal action. We identified some risks prior to construction, and I'm going to run through them as well as the mitigation that took place. We were worried about the security with all the strangers coming onto the farm. The wind farm has subsequently employed a security company to do patrols all the time. We were worried about stock theft with all the strangers being on the farm. There is now a permanent gate signing people and vehicles in. Security is now better than before the wind farm became operational. Biosecurity with gates between the various farms being left open. This has been mitigated by automatic gates being installed between the farms to prevent our animals going onto our neighbor's farm and vice versa. Biosecurity again with gates being left open. During construction, guards were employed at all the internal gates, permanent guards to ensure that no sheep or cattle went through the gates. Post-construction, grids have been installed in place of gates. There was a physical risk of vehicles hitting the animals on the farm, so speed limits were strictly enforced. We also heard on the internet that wind turbines could cause a drop in animal reproduction, in their fertility. This has turned out not to be the case. Our reproduction rates on our sheep has not been affected at all. Alien plants. The spread of alien plants is a big problem. And the wind farm has employed a permanent team to find, locate, and spray and poison any alien plants on the farm. This team has helped us immensely. They have eradicated prickly pears off our property, which had been a huge problem before. The benefits that we have found have been the additional income that has helped us to improve our staff accommodation and their salaries. And this has created a heightened interest in the wind farm construction and operation and a sense of involvement from our staff. Our staff have a sense of pride in the fact that we even provide electricity to Johannesburg. The improvement in our staff accommodation has taken place on two fronts. We have managed to upgrade ourselves using our additional income, and the community trust that was set up to share the revenue from the wind farm to the local communities have also contributed. The community trust has, over the last 3 years, made significant investments into the local communities. Numerous school upgrade programs, as well as academic interventions in the form of the bursaries and support classes, are all helping with a massive underinvestment that our country has in education. I feel that in this regard, a more coordinated program between the various wind farms could have a much bigger impact. If all the various IPPs contributed their social spend into an administered fund, a bigger impact would be made. Our community trust has also supported the startup of numerous small businesses that will hopefully grow, employ more people, and contribute to the further upliftment of our communities. We feel that as a farm, we are contributing to the energy security in the country and contributing to the achievement of the lowering of the world's carbon footprint by producing power from the wind. We have access to most parts of our farm now on the wind farm roads, which are really good compared to our original road network. We use these roads as much as possible, and it has really helped with quick access to certain parts of the farm that used to be inaccessible. The local towns, those are Bedford, Adelaide, Cookhouse, and Somerset East, have seen significant investments. The property rental market, as well as the local businesses, being hardware and food, have benefited immensely from the development and construction phases. The energy and activity around the towns has vastly improved since the construction of the various wind farms. Our local hospitals have all benefited, especially during this COVID pandemic. Our trust has bought numerous batches of PPE, as well as oxygen concentrators for each hospital. With a chronic shortage of oxygen that arose, the wind farm has had a material impact on the survival of people that have had lung issues due to COVID in our area. Food support was also given to the destitute when the hard lockdown was enforced. A seemingly small benefit for us on our sheep farm has been the shade cast by the towers themselves. A number of our camps don't have many trees for shade, and these days, on a hot day, a line of sheep can be seen standing in the shade of a turbine. This is actually a huge benefit to us that we didn't realize would be there. The extra income has effectively drought-proofed our farm. We now have a regular income stream that helps us buy feed and continue farming during drought conditions, which we're currently in the middle of. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to say that it has been a very interesting journey for us. One that we started a bit nervous and apprehensive, but has proved to be the best thing that has ever happened on the farm. The benefits far outweigh any negatives of having a wind farm on a sheep farm. We have developed friendships and relationships with people that we would never normally have come into contact with. The financial benefits have improved our staff's lives, our lives, the surrounding communities, as well as contributing to energy security in our country. In my opinion, the further expansion of the wind farm programs will have massive positive impacts on numerous aspects of the South African economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for a nice, well-worded, well-decorated presentation. I'm baffled. I'm glad that your experience so far has been good. Will you mind, I think, as a wrap-up, just to share with the audience, you have indicated that as a landowner, as farmers, you have benefited immensely, and I was not even aware that now the turbines have become the shade even for the sheep. But what about your farm workers and the children how have they benefited, or how are they benefiting from the operation of the wind farm in your area?
Well, Takalani, as I mentioned, we have managed to significantly upgrade their accommodation on the farm, as well as academic interventions. We have got a few people on bursaries who would never normally have received a bursary, and so they're taking their studies further, and they are lining themselves up to be properly employable in the future. All of the local schools have had investment from our community trust, which hopefully in the long term will see more professional people coming out of our disadvantaged communities in the area. And the wind farm is heavily involved in uplifting the education and the well-being of the pupils and the students. In particular, on our farm, we've had a guy, the son of one of our laborers, who showed potential, and the wind farm trust took him under his wing, and that he's currently doing a master's degree at Rhodes University in communication, and it's been wonderful to see him develop and grow as a person with an opportunity now that he would not have had before.
Thank you very much, Chris, Fanny, and McTonton, and to all the audience. We appreciate your patience, even though we had a technical glitch. You were there to listen and participate. Unfortunately, we couldn't take your answers because of time and technology. As a rep, I would like to say I thank you very much, my panelists. It's clear that there is a symbiosis between agriculture and the wind farm, and it's important, Fanny, that we need to take care of the land, because it's an asset, it's fragile, and it's scarce. We'll make sure that we follow and implement and really include and consider all the land use planning tools that are being developed by the municipality, by your department, and I'm sure some of the audience will contact you to participate in the finalization of the SDF for the Karoo region. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I think this is the end of our breakaway session. Bye-bye. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, Takalani.